Okay, best practice principle number 3 is this idea that strong brands project a single integrated and differentiating identity to all segments and audiences. Now, this may be expressed in different ways to different audiences. It could show different facets at different times, but it has to be driven by some core understanding of the needs of each audience and segment. This is a theme we're going to come back to in a couple of different ways as we move forward. But here's kind of an example of what I'm talking about. I'm sure you're all familiar with Intel as a microprocessor. Most of us are consumers here, and we would know it as something, there's an icon probably on your laptop or some other device you might have. You may or may not know very much about microprocessor technology, but you know somehow Intel it's a good thing to have it on there. Your understanding is going to be very different from that of an engineer or an original equipment manufacturer that agrees to buy Intel chips to put in their equipment. Certainly retailers would have a different point of view and would negotiate with them differently. Executives that are at companies that purchase computing systems would have different questions. So you can see you have a whole bunch of titles here of people that at one point or another would be either buying an Intel chip directly or buying a piece of equipment in which the Intel chip is identified and it's supposed to be part of the value proposition that you're buying into. They also offer a lot of different products from the Centrino and the Pentium and different ones there. So even just in that one example, you can see there's actually a lot of complexity around the audiences and the products, but underneath it all is a single value proposition of safe, reliable microprocessors that make amazing experiences possible. So this is the point I was making about this underlying everything that they do. So as we go into this part of the discussion, I first want to identify some key terms. And that the first set of terms is the idea of brand identity and brand image, because they come up a lot and they actually have two different meanings and serve two different functions when we talk about the world of branding. On one hand, brand identity is the term that is used to express the management point of view, management's perspective, being the managed portrayal of the brand and how we go to market with it. So it's how we discuss the functional attributes, its personality, its values, and so forth. That is in contrast to the term brand image, which is meant to capture the customer's perspective, how the brand is perceived by customers. So it's the external view of the brand. And obviously, these two things are not going to be the same. On one hand, you can't really say which is right and which is wrong. Some can be a little distorted, but that can be true in either case, because from the management perspective, that's always, and it has to be, forward-looking. It's aspirational and it's strategic. A customer, whatever their perception of a brand, good or bad, positive or negative, is rooted in history. It's whatever was shaped by their last experience with the brand, and since they don't know what management is thinking going forward, they can't really see that. They might have the ideas on what they would like to see it do, but they don't have quite the same aspirational perspectives that management does. So, like I said, one is not more true or more correct than the other. They both simply reflect different perspectives, and both can have an element of truth. So when we are managing a brand, what we are really trying to manage is creating overlap between these two spheres. They will never be exactly the same because management is in the best of the most well-managed brand. Management should always be at least a step or two ahead of customers because they're plotting the future for the enterprise. So you'll never have complete overlap, but through good execution of the brand and the elements and the communication, and most importantly, the brand experience, we can eventually bring our perception, the manager, the strategist perception of how the brand should be or hopefully will be perceived against that of customers and end users. And other stakeholders, of course. Where I talk about customers, I'm talking about the whole range of stakeholders here. So just to summarize here, brand identity is what the strategist seeks to manage in order to influence the brand image that evolves in the minds of customers and other stakeholders. So that's the difference between brand image and brand identity.